All right, guys, now I'm going to show you how to represent whole numbers and decimals. So yesterday we represented whole numbers in the billions. We used expanded form, expanded notation, word form, and pictorial form. Now we're going to be representing the numbers in these different ways using whole numbers and decimals. Okay, first thing I want to do is make sure to label my place value so I can remember what place value everything is in. Remember, only one digit goes in each place. If my decimal is here and my whole numbers are on this side, I know I start with the ones place. If my decimal is here and I go to the decimal numbers, I know the next number is in the tenths place with TH. If I go to the next place value, I know that the next one, the 6, is in the hundredths place with THS. So now that I labeled and I know where every place value goes, I'm going to get started with my expanded form. So remember, in expanded form, we bring out the value of each place value, of each digit. So here I have a 2 in the ones place. So I'm going to bring out a 2, because if it's in the ones place, I know it just has a value of 2. Plus. Now, I have a 3 in the tenths place. So I'm going to put that 3 where my tenths place goes. So I have a 0 in the ones place, a decimal, and a 3 in the tenths place. Plus, so this 0 and 3/10, this is the value of that 3. Remember, now we're dealing with decimals. So now I go on to my 6. I have a 6 in the hundredths place. So I have 0 and 0/10 and 6 hundredths. So I have 0 and 6 hundredths. And that's it. This is the form of writing the expanded form. If I were to line this up, I have 2 wholes with nothing in the decimals. I have a 3 in the tenths place, and I have a 6 in the hundredths place. If I add it up, here I'm going to put an imaginary 0. I'm going to make sure my decimals are lined up. I have a 2, 3, 6, and it equaled the same as my number here in standard form. So this form right here is the way to write it in expanded form. So now let's go to expanded notation. I'm going to bring out my whole number. Same thing, I need my parentheses. I have a 2 in the ones place, so I have a 2 times the 1, because it's in the ones place, plus 3 times 1/10, because it's in the 1/10 place, plus 6 times 1/100th, because that 6 is in the 100th place. And that's it. I'm done. 2 times 1, because the 2's in the ones place. 3 times 1/10, because the 3's in the 1/10th place. 6 times 100th, because the 6 is in the hundredths place. So when I write it out in word form, remember, exactly how I read it is exactly how I write it. So this number, I read it 2 and 36 hundredths. So I'm going to spell that out. 2, and remember, we say that word and when there's a decimal. 2 and 36 hundredths. Make sure to write this hundredths and make sure it has THS, because that's what tells you that you're in the hundredths place in the decimals. Okay, so we have 2 and 36 hundredths. When it comes to pictorial form, so whenever I write whole numbers, I use these little cubes to represent the units. And we've used those since about second grade. And that's super awesome. But now those units are going to represent something different. Now those units are going to be representing our decimals. So we're imagining that this big one here is like one of the units. Here it says I have 2. I went ahead and drew those out because those took me a while and I didn't want to waste your time. So I have 2 wholes, so I drew out 2 whole units. And because this says 36 hundredths, this says I cut my whole into 100 parts. That's why I have 100 tiny little cubes. Because now the decimals is telling me I cut those wholes into 100 parts. So I have 2 wholes. I have 3 tenths. So I'm going to represent those tenths using my rods. But now I'm dealing with tenths with TH. So I can imagine there's my decimal here. I have 2 wholes, 3 tenths, and 6 hundredths. And these are if I take one little thing right here and bring it over here. Here I have 2 whole ones, so I'm going to shade this in because I use that whole thing. So I have 2 wholes and 36 hundredths.